Didn't matter. Like, she said, Mom, will you go to this workshop with me? And I said, honey, absolutely. Now, Tony Robbins, when I was back in the 80s, or maybe it was the 70s, I don't know. I guess it was the 80s. I graduated from high school, and I was all into, self-help back then. But he drove me crazy. I don't know if any of you have preconceived feelings about Tony Robbins. I was just like, oh, he's just over the top. He is too much. And he personally addresses that in this thing we went to. He's like, oh man, I was a young punk. I thought I knew everything. Da 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 da. And anyway, so he is a changed man. And I sat there for 3.5 days in awe. And it takes a lot to awe me, because I've been around for people I've been trained by Cheryl Warfield for 25 years, okay? So you have to really impress me. But the work he has done, the science behind what, he can back up everything he tells you scientifically. I mean, his brain, I don't even know how big it is. So anyway, I went to this, and we shared at the director meeting not too long ago one segment. It was like just one segment of something he did, and it was called, directors, what do we call
Clarity?
it?
Power of certainty.
No, of certainty.
Oh,
Power of certainty. Remember that exercise? How many directors were in the room that day? Okay, transformational, right? Are you still using the tool? Okay, so today I'm sharing something with you, and you know that I have always said leaders are readers. And I'm saying that to you. And by the way, team leaders, future directors, DIQs, hey, did you notice how Cheryl addressed you as directors? Did you feel that? Did you catch that? That she didn't keep saying, oh, and the consultants that are still here too. No. See, she sees you. That's who you are. And that is from this point on, as long as you continue to move up from where you are, you will be considered. We already have you in Orlando, so we have to speak with you that way. So, leaders are readers. Leaders must continually invest in themselves and grow. And earlier, Cheryl said it. Where did I put my video? It's right here. So Cheryl said this, and she keeps leading right into things we're training on. She said, oh, where did I put it now? It's one of the little cards I wrote on. Anyway, I have to have it. It's right here. Okay. She said the best gift you can give your people. How many of you know you have people that you are leading? Raise your hand. Put your hand out in front of you. Cup your hand. Look down at your hand. Don't look at me, look at your hand. And visualize the people you have been entrusted to lead. You have people's lives in your palm of your hand. And their families, their children. You have people's lives in your hand. Okay? Look up at me. And they are counting on you to lead them. Because that's what we promised them when we said, buy this starter kit. We'll teach you everything you need to know. How many of you know you say those kind of things? Trust me, don't worry about it. Don't be fearful. Are you teachable? Are you trainable? I will teach you. I will lead you. We made that promise to them. So I just so love Cheryl's big thinking and how she's saying to you, get out there and lead. That's the overall message I've heard this weekend from her is, you know what to do. Just go do it. Lead your people. And by leading our people, we need to show them what Mary Kay can do in their lives. But if they don't see it happening in your life, and you're wearing the fancy suit and have the title on your business card, then why should they believe us, right? So, she said the best gift you can give your people is personal development. Now, do you think she meant personal development of them? Let me read it again. The best gift you can give your people is personal development. So when she said that, I thought, I wonder which way she means it. I think she means it both ways. I think she means the best thing you can give them is to grow yourself as a leader. And for crying out loud, that's why you're here, right? But she also meant that once you develop yourself, then you have the ability to develop them, which it hit me. I'm like, Nikki asked me to go to the Tony Robbins workshop, but it has blessed me and all of us. And now Julianne's enrolled in a course online of Tony Robbins as well. And we continue to invest in ourselves, okay? But because I made that decision to go and do that, I have this to give you today. And it's all about growing yourself. And I told you that part of the topic is change. Okay? Because if we always say it all the time, as leaders we quote this, if nothing changes, oh no, that was so. energy. If nothing changes,
nothing changes.
Say it louder.
If nothing changes, nothing changes.
How many of you are okay with that after this weekend? You guys, when are we going to finally stop investing in events like this and not really maximizing what we do with it? I'm guilty of it. I've done it before, okay? So what Julianne opened with all of you the other day, in dang it, really do this. Yesterday and today, did you do it? Did you go through your notes and capture those things and use those tools she gave you? Okay, do it before you go home today. And I just lost my train of thought on that. Anyway, you are here investing in yourself, okay? But nothing that you learned here, wrote down here, that you're hyped up about and fired up about to go change the world, like Cheryl said, you got your belief back. You've got your confidence back, I hope. Anybody feeling more confident now than when they got here? Raise your hand if you're feeling more confident about what you can go do than when you got here. Good. Then that was worth your investment, for crying out loud. Because without confidence, women, we can't do anything. When I wish I had time to do the certainty thing, but the directors know how powerful that was. And directors, we should somehow get that to you so you can do that with your people. Because, it's so interesting that when you're certain and you have it's a physiological thing. You stand differently when you're confident and certain. And when you're not confident, we see it in directors that are struggling. This is how they walk. They walk looking down. Their shoulders are forward. Your body, there's no energy coming from you. They have fear. They have doubt. But when they're confident and you're at the height of your game and you're doing amazing things, Tina, there she is, does not walk around here like that, right? She's not walking around slumped over, looking down at the ground, feeling confident, having conversations about what she's not. But that's because she chooses to do the work and have the confidence. I could go through many of you. Every one of you in this room has been there at some point, right? So we got to get you to that point, and that's what this program's going to do. So I typed it all up, was going to do it in my own voice. I'm going to play it to you so you can hear Tony's inflection, okay? And along the way, we will pause. But you must, when he says, these are the 6 human needs, you've got to take notes. You've got to write this down. These are my notes when I first listened to it so that I could capture it, because then he gives you homework to go back and do. And this piece, this next hour, is what's going to solidify that you actually leave from here and do what Cheryl just said about your dream, okay? And start moving toward it and get those 10 recruits a month. How many of you want the 10 new recruits every month? I know there could be a person. Nobody? There's hands that aren't up. How many of you would love to have the 10 new? Wouldn't that make your team and your unit more juicy? Okay. And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand for this, because after this I think you'll feel better about it. Do you have the confidence that you absolutely can? Are you 100% certain that you're going to walk out of this room and go start getting 10 new recruits by the end of September, and that's just going to grow? Like after you leave here, you're never going to have a month that goes by that you're going to have less than 10 new unit members. Anybody that confident? Don't be shy about raising your hand if you're confident. I know I can do it. Great. I want to make a point. Maybe a handful of you, and I love that you believe that, right? But see, doesn't it matter that we put Cheryl Warfield up here and she said, here's your answer to everything you want in your life and all your dreams. If you don't own it and have the confidence that you're going to leave this building and it is happening, it won't happen. So we're going to get into the needs people have and why they do what they do and why they don't do what they do. So please do yourself a favor. Pay close attention. This training was thousands and thousands of dollars. You're getting it included in your price of your ticket here. And I just ask you as a favor to do something with it. Okay? All right, John, go ahead and push play. I'm going to try not to stop it very often because I get that. I'm like, oh, how does that? So you be thinking, how does that relate to my Mary Kay business? Okay? Oh, go. We have to fast forward to 11 minutes. The first part of it, we don't have time. It's more than an hour.
Hi, this is Tony Robbins. Welcome to Creating Lasting Change.
Creating Lasting Change. Write it down. That's your topic.
Impact.
Just fast forward to the 11-minute mark.
For joining me
Oh,
in
you
this
don't have to do
program. You and
11 minutes.
I've been asking the question for 30 years, why do people do what they do? People often come to me sometimes and say, well, hi, you're Tony Robbins. Well, I don't. I think what you do is really good, but I don't need any motivation. I said, well, that's great, because that's not what I teach. Now look at me. I said, I'm the why guy. You've got all the motivation in the world. My question is, what is your motive for action? Why do you do what you do? Why is it that you keep saying that you want to do this, but you never do it? In fact, you say you don't want to do something else like smoke or drink or overeat or sleep in, and yet you do it all the time. You're quite motivated to do the thing you say you don't want to do. And what happens is people usually get a little hooked. And I said, I can tell you the answer. It's an understanding that comes from three things. Understanding human needs, understanding human beliefs, and understanding the emotions that you become habitually addicted to.
Are you hooked? Okay. So now I'm going to fast forward it just a little bit, because if we don't, then we can't get to some really key parts of it.
I've been asking the question for 30 years.
Never mind. I'm going to skip that whole first part.
Why do people do what they do? People often come to me sometimes and say, well, hi, you're Tony Robbins. Well, I think what you do is really good, but I don't need any motivation. I said, well, that's great, because, that's not what I teach. Now look at me. I said, I'm the why guy. I said, you clearly don't need any motivation. You've got all the motivation in the world. My question is, what is your motive for action?
What is your motive for action?
Why do you do what you do? Why is it that you keep saying that you want to do this, but you never do it? In fact, you say you don't want to do something else like smoke or drink or overeat or sleep in, and yet you do it all the time. You're quite motivated to do the thing you say you don't want to do. And what happens is people usually get a little hooked. And I said, I can tell you the answer. It's an understanding that comes from three things. Understanding human needs, understanding human beliefs, and understanding the emotions that you become habitually addicted to.
Okay, did you catch that? I just want to pause to give you a little bit of time to write it down. What did he say? What was the first one?
Human needs.
Human needs. Second one? Human beliefs. And what was the third one?
Emotions you are habitually addicted to.
Emotions you're habitually addicted to. Okay. How do you think this might help if you understood those three things in your business as a leader? Do you think that'll help you lead your people?
Yes.
Do you think it'll help you lead yourself well?
Yes.
Think it'll help you lead your children well?
Yep.
Okay.
You'll find a way to get to no matter what. These three filters affect us. Now, I'm going to come back to these, but let me say to you something maybe simpler first. If you want to know what I believe at the core level of what shapes human behavior, it's not our background, it's not our conditioning, those play a role, it's not our internal conflicts, it's not whether we have enough friendly people around us creating an environment to help us to change, it's not what drugs are surging through your body, all that's quite useful, don't get me wrong. It's not any of these things by itself. It's not just your meridians, it's your decisions. My core belief is this: it's not our conditions, it's our decisions that shape our destiny.
Write that down. It is not our conditions. It is not our conditions. It is our decisions that shape our destiny. I found that very comforting. Because who's in charge of my decisions? Me. So I can change my decisions, yes? Where I can't always change my conditions. How many of you know you can't always change your conditions? Raise your hand. We had a consultant here earlier, she's gone now, that walked into this conference finding out that someone very dear to her had committed suicide. Walked in, dealing with that. So when the person she was most closest to in her entire life, she decided to stay at this conference. A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would have turned the car around and gone home and just laid in a fetal position in bed, which is, I'm sure, what she wanted to do. And that's what he's saying. Let's all say it together. It is not, our conditions. It is our decisions, that shape our destiny.
It's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped, and you're making those decisions even right now while you're listening to me speak. You're either blowing me off, or you're saying, wow, this is some common sense. You've got me intrigued. I'm interested. Tell me more. I want to know how I can take what I see in the world that I don't like within myself or others, and I want to see how I can make a difference and change. If you're in that spot, we will continue. If not, you probably already hung up on me now, turned this darn thing off, and moved on to some really cool music. All right, so let's move on. So what are the 3 decisions you're making every moment of your life? You're making it right now as I speak. Decision 1, and this is what shapes your destiny, what you focus on. See, we feel whatever we focus on. Where focus goes, energy flows.
Just going to give you some time to make sure you capture these things. What did he say?
Where focus goes, energy flows.
Where focus goes, energy flows. If your focus is on, I'm depressed, I can't do this, guess what? You're going to be proven right. Okay? All right.
Now, people develop patterns of what they focus on. Some people's patterns to focus on the past. Some are on the future. Some is just on this moment. And whatever you focus on, you're going to change. If you started thinking about your life 10 years ago and some horrible event that occurred, and you put enough focus in it, are you going to start feeling it? You bet you are. It's going to be in your body right now. Your biochemistry will change, right? You can look at that from an energy psychology approach. You can look at it from a cognitive approach. You can look at it from a Freudian approach, but it's the same darn impact. Where focus goes, energy flows. Or some people focus on the future, and the future is horrible, the future is great, but it's a pattern. Some people's focus is always on themselves. When people are depressed, they have to be selfish. Think about it. You can't get depressed when you're helping other people.
Yeah.
I just have to let that one sink in, because as national sales directors, one of the things that we hear when a consultant or a director is struggling is that's all they're thinking about, is themselves. And I said it here at this conference to one of our directors, because she was in a really deep place. And I said, stop thinking about yourself and start serving others. No more conversation to me about you. I want to know what you're doing to serve other people. And I walked away. If I hadn't had this training, I wouldn't have been able to say that to her. It'll change your life. Okay? So, I know depression and anxiety are big. It runs rampant in my family. Okay? But so much of it can be fixed with the right focus. Okay? So you're going to take this and help other people outside of Mary Kay and in your family. Okay?
The only way you get depressed is focus on what you're not accomplishing, what you're not achieving, what you're not experiencing, how you're not doing enough for your kids, how you haven't accomplished it, how you're not enough. It's a me self-approach that allows us to be depressed. So if you focus on yourself constantly, we can predict some of your challenges. If you're always focused on others, you're going to have a very different life. If you have the ability to flex between them, you're going to have a more balanced life, quite obviously. So the focus is a critical component. I mean, a simplistic example that I give in seminars all the time. So if you've heard this, I just give it to you again because it's such a simple and quick way of describing this. Have you ever had an experience where someone told you about a friend or a family member and they told you that they did something, they said something to harm you, but you know this friend or family member is loyal to you and they love you, and so your first response is, oh, you must have misunderstood them or you're wrong, but the person continues to tell you this story with passion and depth and intensity. And at one point you start to go, wow, I can't believe they said this about me. Even though you weren't there, you know this person seems to be so certain, you take it in. Now when you focus on how they did you wrong, you immediately start having those feelings, don't you? Upset or hurt or angry or frustrated, it just comes immediately in the body. Now what's interesting is, you ever had this happen and got really upset with this family member or friend or what they did to you, and now you go to confront them and you find out that the person was dead wrong? They made it up or they misinterpreted what they told you, and then you felt like an idiot because you were so angry? See, focus equals feeling. So even if it's not true.
Write that one down. That's powerful. I've listened to this at least 10 times. So I'm like, I know exactly what you got to write down and go back to later. What did he say?
Focus equals feelings.
Say it again.
Focus equals feelings.
What does that mean to you?
That's where your feelings will come from, on what you focus on.
How many of you agree with that statement? Totally. So if you want to change how you're feeling,
Change your focus.
change your focus. So when you find yourself in a funk, ask yourself, okay, stop, Tammy. What is it you're focusing on? Okay? Because half the time we can't even control that. So pivot and focus on something else.
Ooh, it feels true to you, I always say to people is focus equals reality to the individual. If you focus on something and you think someone's late for dinner and you focus on the fact they're late because you imagine them being in a car accident, you're going to feel it. It's going to be real to you. If you focus on they're not here for dinner because they're out screwing around with somebody else, it's going to be real to you. Focus equals reality to the individual, even though it's not reality in actuality.
That's important to write down when you're working with your people. Just because you're thinking, is she crazy? That is not it. Focus is reality to the how did he say it? To the individual. You have to, be okay with that and accept that. It may not seem real to you, but it is her reality. Okay?
Focus equals feelings. And every moment, you're deciding what to focus on. Now, the minute you focus on something, the second decision happens in milliseconds in your brain. It happens either consciously if you direct it or unconsciously if you don't. And that decision is, what does this mean? What does this mean? Somebody comes in and they start to use a loud voice and tell you what you should do. Does that mean they hate you? Does that mean they've abused you? Does that mean they're having a tough day? See, whatever meaning you create is going to instantly change how you feel about something. And feelings are the fuel of life. Feelings, human emotion, is the basis of a quality life or a painful life. That's what we're really shifting more than anything else. That's what fuels our behavior, our actions. That's what gives us the experience of our lives that we enjoy or that we dislike or even hate. If something happens and you focus on it, the question is, right now, is this the end or the beginning? If you decide in a millisecond, this is the end, are you going to feel differently than if you think this is the beginning of a relationship? Are you going to behave differently from that emotion? You bet you are. Or if something that seems to happen in your life that's disappointing or frustrating or seemingly horrible, is it God punishing you? Or God challenging you? Or God rewarding you? Or does it have nothing to do with God? Is it karma? Is it, you deserve it? If you think you deserve a pain or a problem, you're going to deal with it very differently than if you think this is you being challenged by God to become more, to give more, to create more. See, whatever meaning we give, that's what controls our life. Meaning is the answer. You want to know who one of my great heroes is in life? Pick up a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You probably already have read it. It's an old classic, but if you haven't, you deserve to take it in. One of the great things that Viktor Frankl believed was that human beings always have free will. We can make a decision. We can choose to believe something new. We can choose to take another action. We can choose to feel the conflict inside of us and resolve that conflict, not just say I'm doomed for life by my biochemistry or by my childhood experiences. He's a brilliant man in this area. See, if we want to shift our life, we've got to shift what we focus on consistently, the meanings we give it, and the actions we take. Are you going to pull back as your action or move forward? Are you going to give up or break through? It's all a decision. So my belief is these three decisions shape your destiny. If you look back on your life, you can look at moments in your life where if you made a different decision, your life would be totally different today. Can't you? I mean, can you think of a situation where if you made a different decision, you'd be different physically or mentally or emotionally, you'd have a totally different relationship or career or life? We cannot deny when we're honest with ourselves that this power has been given to us by life, by God, by nature, whatever you want to call it. We have the power to decide anew. And in that free will, in that choice, in this moment, we can shift everything. What human needs psychology brings to the table, I believe, is an understanding of what's controlling these three decisions in you. Because it's great to say, yeah, I got to focus on better things, and I got to come up with better meanings, and I got to take better actions, and that'll all create better results, and I'm going to feel better. But why do I make decisions the way I do, and how do I get to the controlling forces? What I've been passionately driven to find is, what are the invisible forces that are controlling all of your decisions? And that's what's controlling your destiny.
Okay, that was a lot. Did it make sense? I had to listen to that multiple times. But what did he say the three decisions are that we make constantly, like hundreds of times a day? What were they? What I focus on.
What does this mean?
What meaning do you give things when they happen? And the third one? The actions you take. Let's use an example. You have this powerful skincare class booked, coached perfectly, like there's all these women coming that are going to buy roll-up bags, okay? And then at the last minute, God forbid, the hostess gets in a car accident and it falls apart. Okay, that is a situation. You give it meaning, right? Now that's a kind of a dramatic one, but okay. So at that moment, you're going to make those 3 decisions. Okay, here's the issue. Class isn't holding. So what are you going to choose to focus on? You get to choose. He said you have free will to choose. So you can focus on, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get those 100 faces done. God just doesn't want me to do Mary Kay. This is another sign. My husband's going to be, blah, blah. I mean, you can go into that mode, diving off the cliff, okay? Or you can say, okay, class canceled. I had 2 hours set aside. Man, I could really go, pound my date book with a bunch of appointments. I could add 10 more classes. I think I'll go do that because that's what you chose to focus on. But that also, it was 2 different stories you made up about what just happened. I'm trying to give you an example so this makes more sense. Okay, so you gave it meaning that God doesn't want you to do Mary Kay. This is never going to happen. You know what? Here's another sign. I'm just going to quit. Okay, or interesting. That I can't control that situation. Okay, let's focus on something different. Let's go. I'm giving it a meaning that it's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. But what's good about this? I can go do this. That was the meaning you gave it, and then your actions are going to be dictated by that. If you go into that funky dive, do you think you're going to go take action and say, well, I guess I'll just go do some more bookings? How do you think those bookings are going to go?
Not so good.
Number 1, you're not even going to go say that. You're going to say, I'm just going to go eat ice cream or something, or do something non-productive because of what you chose to focus on. Does that make sense? So these happen all day long, you guys. Powerful? Yes. Okay. All right.
So let me take it to the next step. If we really believe that decisions shape our destiny, then what are the invisible forces that shape our decision? And I say invisible forces not to sound so mythical or overly dramatic, but if you think about life, the things that affect us most in life are invisible forces. Gravity, radiation, love, joy, anger, frustration. These are all invisible, and yet they shape our lives more than anything that's visible. The visible parts of our life come from the way we utilize the invisible. So what shapes our decisions? Well, we're going to take 2 frames on this. First, what shapes our decisions in the moment? Have you ever done something or said something, and right after you've done it, you thought, why did I say that? Why did I do that? That was so stupid. Of course, yeah, we have too. And we've also, I'm sure, had times in your life, I have, where you've done something and afterwards you impressed the heck out of yourself. It's like, I don't know how I did that, but that was in the flow, baby. I love that. Well, you're the same person. The only difference in what you focused on the meaning and feelings and actions you took, the results you produced, moment to moment, it's based on the state you're in. Loving people get in angry states, and when they're angry, what do? They do things that reflect that anger, not the loving person they are. Honest people can be dishonest in moments if they get in certain states where they drop their standard for themselves. So the state you're in affects your life immensely. And a huge part of my work over the years, especially in peak performance, and how I help people change in a moment, is identify the states of mind and body that they go into when they're at their best, and I show them how to trigger that, how to make that happen. And I find the states that are causing them to not make progress or causing them to behave in ways they're not proud of, and I show them how to break those patterns. Now, I'm not going to go through in detail now, and if you're familiar with my work, I'm sure this is a fundamental that I teach, but just to remind you, if you're in an angry state, you're probably going to focus on things differently. You're probably going to come up with a different meaning. You're going to probably feel differently and act differently than if you're in a state of gratitude. That's not hard to figure out. How do we change those states? Again, if you're familiar with my work, I teach that there are 3 forces that shape your emotional state moment to moment. The 3 molders of meaning, which I call the triad. And there are 3 patterns. The way you're feeling in every moment is controlled first by the way you use your physical body, the pattern of physiology. Somebody who is very happy has a very different way of moving, breathing, speaking, facial expression, their body than somebody who is very angry. If you're depressed, you know what's happened. The body takes on a very specific posture, doesn't it? If you said there's somebody depressed over here behind curtain number 1, and I'm going to give you $100,000 to your favorite charity if you can describe their physical body in detail without seeing them. Tell me what their posture's like. Could you do it? Of course you could. What's their body like? Where are their shoulders? Slumped. Where's their head? Up or down? It's not hard to figure out down. Are they breathing full or shallow if they're feeling depressed? Obviously shallow. Are they talking loud and fast or more quiet and hesitant? obviously quiet and hesitant. But we can do this with people, with 10,000 people in a room, and everybody knows the answer because we've all felt depressed or down, and we have to use our body a very specific way to do that. Emotions don't just happen. We do them. We do them through patterns of physiology. The second part of your molders of meaning, or your triad that affects what you feel, is what you focus on, as we've already described. You know, if you're focusing on what you think's been done to you, you feel very different than if you're focusing on what you can give in this situation. Focus equals feeling. And then finally, the third thing that affects how you feel in the moment is your language patterns. Because when you have an experience, it changes when you add language to it. You're sitting on the edge of a cliff, and you're having an experience. The wind is blowing against your skin. You're looking out over the ocean. A seagull comes flying down by you, or a hawk. And as you watch it soaring, you're experiencing what you see. But then there's a moment when language enters into it. And you say, wow, that's an ugly seagull. Or let's say the hawk goes down and dives down and grabs a fish. And you say, oh, that's terrible. Or you say, well, that's beautiful, or that's God. The minute you add words to it, beautiful, ugly, guided, a problem, horrific, you change what you feel. You've changed the experience. So language is a filter to meaning. You know, if you go through this huge experience in life, and some people develop the habit of using certain words or phrases, and they become hypnotic. They put us in a state. If every time something that you don't like happens, you go, there's God punishing me again, well, sure enough, after a while, you feel like there's something wrong with you, or you feel like you deserve it, or you feel angry. But if things happen that are uncomfortable and you go, oh, that's just another lesson, or that's another opportunity. I mean, I'll give you a simplistic, funny example. I have a dear friend of mine, Ken Blanchard. He wrote those 1 Minute Manager books. I remember he was stuck in Africa. He was going on this trip, and they're out in the middle of the plains, and there's, everything out there, zebras and elephants, and obviously, lions. And they ran out of fuel. And 3 of the people had different reactions. One was hysterical. Oh my God, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. And the other person was angry. And Ken's response was, this is inconvenient. And he wasn't being a joke, that's just his habit. And so, since he uses that language so often, he isn't being cute, it lowers the intensity of the emotion. Do you get?
Which person do you want to be? Ken Blanchard. Well, okay, this is inconvenient, right?
My dad just said, well, this is exciting.
This is exciting. Well, this is exciting. Okay? But all 3 of those people were in the exact same situation, experiencing the exact same thing. It was pretty major. Out of gas and there's wild animals everywhere. Well, this is inconvenient. But see, that was the words he gave it, you guys. We have got to, as leaders, learn to master this. We have to become the Ken Blanchard. We don't have to. We get to. We get to master this because we get to come to events like this and hear this and surround ourselves with people who educate themselves so we can have these conversations, right? But it goes back to choice. It goes back to free will. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You get to choose how you react. And then when you do that, who do you think was in control of that situation at that moment? Ken Blanchard. Thank God for all of them, because he was like, okay. He didn't go into panic mode. He didn't go into anger mode. He went into, well, okay. So when he said this is inconvenient, what do you think his brain said? How do we fix this? What's the way out? Okay? Can you all do that? Can we all do that? None of us are perfect at it. Raise your hand if you think, I can do this. I can make good decisions. Raise your hand. In any situation, no matter what happens to my business, that girl calls to sell her product back. Oh well, try to save her. Try to explain to her that's the stupidest thing she could do. Don't say stupid, but you give it, you don't just let people go, but you don't make up a story about that. You don't let that take you out for 6 months. You're like, well, this is inconvenient. This is interesting, right? You're going to react different. Okay.
It changes the way you feel. So the 3 molders of meaning are the way you use your body, what you're focusing on, and the language you use.
You write it down. You got to have these tools when you leave. Like, put them on 3x5 cards or in things in your phone and just catch yourself. Say them again. What were they? How you use your physical body. Directors, we had that experiment at director meeting when we did the certainty. And we practiced how we act when we're down and depressed and not feeling good. And when we act, then we stood up and said, show me your physical body when you are certain that you're in charge and things are going to happen, right? And you get to choose that. How you physically walk in. Someone I love her physical all the time is Marian Dixon. I mean, that girl, that she didn't even have to open her mouth. She walks in the door and I smile. Because I know I'm going to have a fun time. And it's going to be, and I'm going to laugh. And I'm going to get educated. And she's going to giggle. And I'm just like, oh, good, Marian's here. Yay. And Jaylene, too. Did everybody see Jaylene Weston? Yay! You might want to stand up and model. Did you see how sexy she looked? Did you see her burgundy boots? Like, the girl's got it going on. I'm telling you. But, yeah, you should walk up here. She doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to do that. But check her out before you leave. But anyway, Jaylene Weston is another one. How many of you, when Jaylene walked in the room, you were like, oh, she's here? How many of you felt that? I know. So many of you jumped up and ran over and hugged her because that's just who she be. That's a choice. She's going through a really tough time right now. She's here looking hotter than dirt. And that was a choice. But she brings joy to our life because she chooses to walk in and everybody goes, oh good, Jaylene's here. We're going to have fun. We're going to laugh. She's going to be crazy. She's going to hoot and holler. You know what I mean? Is that what people say about you when you walk in a room? Do people feel that way? Oh good, she's here. Or oh Lord, help us. Okay? I mean, don't be that person. As a leader, you can't be. You may be feeling that way, but you walk in the room and that's our goal. That's our goal, is when we walk in the room, people are excited that we're there. And they're going to have a great experience because you just walked in the room. Be that person. What a joy. This is not a dress rehearsal. We get this one life to live it the way we want and have people, be changed for the good. Right? And when we're gone, what do you want them saying about you? Okay? All right.
What were the 3 things?
Oh, sorry.
Physical body.
Physical body.
Mental focus.
You're what you focus on because that came in again. Okay? And then the third thing was? Language. What comes out of your mouth. Holy Hannah, you guys. The words you give things. Okay, here we go.
These molders of meaning become habits. We get into certain states. And as I said before, some people's state that they live in most often is frustration, and they find a way to get there, or anger. Some people live in a place of awe. Very few people, but there are some. They live in this place of curiosity and a sense of grace or the beauty.
Who do you know in this room that lives in a sense of curiosity? Absolutely. That's the first person I thought of. She's so curious. We go on a trip and we got to find out every rock and where it was from, and you know what I mean. And it's fun. And she's an adventurer and she wants to know the history. Oh, we went to Temple Square the other day. We did not need a guide. This girl, I'm like, you're what? How did you know that? She knows everything. Cheryl was like, whoa, holy cow. I mean, I wish I could go into it, but you know what? She's curious. She's not frustrated. What would people say about you? She lives in a constant state of what?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Beauty of life. It's a very different life depending upon which filter you use, isn't it? And whichever triad, whichever filter, whatever state you go into most often, it affects your decisions. It affects what you focus on. It affects what things mean. It affects what you do. It's like a cycle. The state you're in affects the decisions you make. The decisions you make affect the state you're in. That happens moment to moment. So very often if I want to help someone to change, rather than talking to them about some cognitive principle they have in their head or some thought process, I'll just change their body. I'll make a shift their breathing, get them to do something they're not used to doing. And you take somebody who's depressed and say, come with me on a walk. And in the walk, you begin to direct and change their body, and they feel better after the walk. And they're able to now focus on something new. They're able to come up with a different way of looking at things. So there are many forms of intervention here. People in the somatic approach would say, you're feeling the way you do because of your biochemistry. Well, your biochemistry can be changed by a shift in breathing, by demand in your muscles, by a movement. It can be shifted in so many ways. If you want to know the most powerful drug that most people consume, it's what they eat each day. And yet most of us are completely uneducated and don't look at its impact on our blood sugar and our emotion and where we're shifted.
So perhaps if you haven't bought into what Julianne's teaching, maybe you could listen to Tony Robbins.
So it's so easy to shift someone by changing their physiology or changing their focus or changing the pattern of questions you ask them. Because whatever you focus on, questions are the language that change your focus. And what you focus on changes the way you feel, which affects your body. So again, I'm not trying to give you a whole lesson in the triad, but just know this. If the decisions you make shape your destiny, your decisions are powerfully shaped by the state you're in.
Okay, write that one down. Anybody catch it? Yes. If your decisions shape your destiny, what was the rest of it? I don't have that one written down. Did anybody catch it? Some of you brainiacs that can capture all that? Okay, I can try to rewind it.
Your decisions are powerfully impacted by the state you're in.
Okay, then your decisions are powerfully impacted by the state you're in. See, I knew somebody in this room has that brain that just goes.
That's John.
You should see me when I listen to this. It's like, pause, type it out. Pause. Okay, one more time, John.
If the decisions shape your destiny, then the state you're in, your decisions are powerfully impacted by the state you are in.
That's good. So we have to be in control of the state we choose to be in. At his workshop, you guys, this thing went on for 3 days. They were 14-hour days, and he didn't as much give you a potty break or time to go eat. It was grueling. Wow. But I'm telling you, I was never tired. I was so fired up the whole time, and it was just the state we were in. But I'm not exaggerating. Every 7 minutes, he would put music on like John plays and make us go like, jump. We just had to jump because it changed your state. So I was like, Nikki, that was 14 hours. We never were tired. But he would just do it. He'd say, get up, here it comes again. And I'm just like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, my front legs and muscles were so, I was like, oh, I'm gonna type that down. But anyway, he does that. Do you know what he does in the morning to get in the state that he wants to be in the day? Who knows? He jumps into a pool of water. He has one at every one of his houses. And it's only as big as this table. That is like,
Ice?
it's ice cold water.
Yeah, I know.
And he said, do I like doing it? No, but I do it because it instantly changes my state. Wakes me up. I don't have to wait to wake up. You know, the whole thing. But he's big on change your state, you know. And he would have us yell at each other. It was so awesome to learn it. So Nikki and I now say to each other, change your state. And he would say, don't be offended by this. I'll use a different word. He'd say, okay, now shake your butt. But he didn't say butt. So 25,000 people were at this conference, and everybody was just like this. Like all these businessmen that walked in, and these beautiful women dressed like they were models. There were celebrities there. He had them kind of hidden, or you couldn't really say who they were. But we're all up by the end, shaking our butt. But he would just scream, and I was like, "Shake your butt!" It's time, you know. And we found ourselves doing these crazy things, right? But he was just trying to change your state. So now Nikki and I do that to each other. You need to change your state, girl. You know, so anyway, super fun. Your state makes a difference.
The state you're in, each moment is shaped by these 3 forces. Pattern of your body, pattern of focus, pattern of language. If you're angry, you're going to make different decisions than if you're feeling grateful, as we said before. But here's what I want to focus on now. And this is where I think you're going to find the process of unraveling human behavior and helping people change to be most powerful. What affects your decisions long term? Not just moment to moment. What creates the long-term pattern that makes somebody really angry or really depressed? Not just in the moment, but long-term. Where they start to live that way. Or somebody feel really excited or grateful or happy or playful or fun. That's shaped by 3 forces. The 3 forces of destiny that together create kind of your worldview. The way you interpret life. The way you make decisions. This is the ultimate filter. The box that we all live in is different. You know, I like to call it the worldview, or let's say your blueprint. Kind of what your mindset is about how to make decisions. And the 3 forces within this box, if you will, are number 1, the needs that are driving all your decisions. See, if you're doing something, if you're going after something, whether you're trying to make $1 billion, or you're trying to help your children, or you want to create peace on earth, or you just want to create comfort for yourself or your family, whatever you're doing, you have a reason. And the good news is, having been with 3 million people from 100 countries, it became obvious to me after a while that there were some common patterns. And I believe there are 6 reasons people do anything. I call them the 6 human needs. And they are briefly, number 1, certainty. Now when I talk about certainty, I'm not talking about something that you may value or not. Values or goals or beliefs are very different than needs. Beliefs are learned. Needs are inborn.
What did he say?
Beliefs are learned, needs are inborn.
Beliefs are learned, needs are inborn. That's important that you capture that. Like, put a big circle around that one.
Say it one more time.
Say it out loud.
Beliefs are learned, needs are inborn.
Beliefs are learned. How many of you believe that? Beliefs are learned. Your needs There are 6 human needs he's going to cover. We were born with them, and you're going to identify yours when you walk out of here. And then you're going to be able to identify your spouses, your children. They can be different than yours. It's fascinating.
This is the driving force, one of them in all human beings. Certainty means to have a sense of certainty that you can avoid pain and that ideally you can have some comfort or pleasure. Certainty you can be comfortable at some level is certainty you can survive. So how do people get certainty? Well, we can get certainty in ways that are empowering, kind of neutral, or disempowering. So for example, you can do it by working very hard to master something. So now you're not fearful, you're not uncertain, you know how to make this thing happen. You've been doing it for years, right? Or you can do it in a negative way. You can lower your expectations. You can say, okay, I know it's all a waste of time because nothing ever works anyway. Why even try? So the only differences in people are, how do they get their certainty? How much do they get? And they do it in a way that's obtainable or sustainable. Does that make sense? Now, what's interesting though, is if you were totally certain every single moment of your life, if you knew what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, then after a while, what would you start to feel? Bored. Bored out of your mind. So I always tell people, God clearly has a sense of humor because our second human need is uncertainty, right? We need uncertainty to feel alive. Think about it. Variety is the what of life? Spice. I always ask people, if your life was the same every moment, every day, you knew what was going to happen, what someone's going to say, how they're going to say it, you go crazy, right? So you got to have variety. By the way, how can you get variety? You can get it by an interesting conversation, by spending time with a friend. You can get variety by trying new things. You can go extreme, like jumping out of airplanes, or you can do it by watching an interesting movie, or reading an interesting book, or taking on a new goal. There are so many ways to do it. You can get variety from different foods. All variety is anything that'll change your state. That'll give you a different feeling. Does that make sense? Third human need, the need for significance. The need to feel unique, the need to feel special, the need to feel important. Who would you say needs to feel significant?
Everyone.
Very good. Many of you said it. What would you answer to that? Who needs to feel significant?
Everybody.
You're right.
Everyone. The only difference in people is, how do you go after it? What are your beliefs about how to meet this need? Do you get significance by serving, or do you get significance by dominating? Do you get significance by dressing cool and unique and having tattoos and earrings and locations we don't even want to talk about? So you feel cool and unique and special? Or do you get it by being more generous than almost anybody else around you and knowing that you come from your heart, and so you know you're unique in that way? Let me tell you a principle now, a very important one. One that if you're going to help create change in yourself or other people, you got to understand. Anytime a person links up in their mind, consciously or unconsciously, that thinking, believing, feeling, or behaving a certain way meets at least 3 of these needs, then that thought, that feeling, that emotion, or that behavior becomes an addiction. It becomes a habit. So for example, violence has been with humanity for almost ever, and probably always will be unless we have a consciousness change, because it meets 3 needs powerfully. Certainty at a 10, significance at a 10, and variety at a very high number. Because whenever it occurs, you don't know what's going to happen. It's different every time. It also meets a 4th human need called connection. Connection and love is the 4th human need. Who needs to feel connected? Who needs to feel loved? The person says, I don't need any love. I'm an island. I'm all by myself. I don't need anybody. Mouth protests too much. Every human being needs it. In fact, it's in our DNA. Our need for love is our survival instinct. When you're a baby, the only way you survive is someone loves you. What does it mean when say someone loves you? It means they put you above their own needs. They put you first. So we all need connection and love. It's the deepest part of our soul. The problem is, love is a bit scary, isn't it? Man, if you love somebody and you open up, you're so vulnerable. And now, man, somebody could come and hurt you. They could take it away. So most people settle for connection. So you can connect through intimacy, through lovemaking. You can connect through a walk in nature. Anyone can get connection and love. The question is, do you do it by problems? Do you do it by giving? Do you get the need met in neutral ways, negative ways, or empowering ways? Because our life is shaped not by our needs so much, but by the ways that we've learned to meet them. So this is the first force of destiny, and these are the first 4 needs. The force of destiny is your needs, the driving force of life. Think of it as the target you're after. Remember I said there's 6 of these needs, so what's number 5 and 6? Well, the first 4 I call basically the needs of the personality. What I mean by that is everybody finds a way to meet these first 4 needs, but the ultimate needs not everybody meets. And these are what make you feel fulfilled.
Okay, I want you to get that before he goes on to the last 2. So, if you're understanding this, it took me listening to it a couple times. Certainty, uncertainty, need for significance, connection, and love, we all have all of those. But 2 of them are going to be stronger for some than others. Okay, so to understand that everybody has them, but then he just said, what about these last 2? Not everybody has them. Okay.
Not just alive, but vibrantly alive, fulfilled. And they are the needs, I think, of the spirit. Meaning, I'm not talking about religiously, I'm just saying this is what your spirit craves. And I mentioned them earlier. Number 5 is you must grow. Everyone on earth, we either grow or we die. Everything in the universe grows or dies. A relationship is growing or it's dying. There is no neutral in between.
Your business is growing or dying. Remember that one. Everything in the universe is either growing or dying. And he said the first 4 are the needs of your personality. Make sure you get that. The last 2 are the needs that make us feel alive. These are the things he said your spirit craves. How many of you crave growing? That's why I came into Mary Kay, because staying at home, alphabetizing spices, I was dying. I was not growing as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. I couldn't give my family anymore. I was getting angry, bitter, and taking that out on them because I wasn't growing. Okay? Which is another reason people need us. Another reason you need to go out and recruit the world. Because where do people grow? In corporate America, so many times they're so beat up, you guys, they cannot grow. And they're threatened with their jobs. They're not growing. They're stuck.
Stressed,
we can always grow in Mary Kay, can't we? There is, the top, Gloria Mayfield Banks could be beat tomorrow by someone who grew past that, right? We can all grow. Gloria can grow. She can grow more offspring. That's why I love this business so much. I was so attracted to it. There's no ceiling. You can always grow. We're growing right now, aren't we?
Yes.
In this experience, this 1 hour, we are growing as humans. Are you becoming a better mom right now?
Yes.
A better wife right now?
Yes.
A better member of your church right now?
Yes.
Like you've got this stuff from this weekend and you're like, I'm growing. That's why you're feeling good. That's why we always feel good at these things. We're growing. Okay, and the last one.
Between place. It's a constant process that's occurring throughout life. And the reason we grow, I believe, is to meet our 6th human need, which is the need to contribute. We grow so we have something to give. Giving beyond yourself, contributing something is what gives life meaning. So as I said earlier, think about it. There's only so much pleasure you can get by yourself. You do something, you achieve something, you have an experience of something. What's the first thing you want to do? Tell somebody, share with somebody your experience, because what does it do? It magnifies it as you contribute that state, that feeling, that emotion, that thought, that insight to them. That's why we want to share. That's why we want to contribute at some level to other human beings. You get kissed, you make $1 million, you achieve the ultimate goal in your position, you get your kids to pass through school with flying colors, 4.0, magna cum laude, whatever. That moment is temporary. What makes you feel alive is that constant growth and feeling like it's more than just about me. If there's a lesson of life, when you want to help someone make a change, whenever they're experiencing enormous pain, they're almost always focused on themselves. They may say, no, I'm focused on my kids and I'm not making the difference I should, but they're really focused unconsciously on I'm not doing what I should have done. I'm not enough for my kids. They're focused on themselves. Get outside yourself, find a way to contribute, and it's very easy to make a meaningful change, and your life has depth. So these are the 6 human needs. Now, as I said, there's only 2 differences in people. And one of those differences is which one of these needs do you value most?
Circle it. Circle the need that you personally value most. There is no wrong answer. You know yourself.
Can you go through all of them?
Here they are. Number 1, certainty. Number 2, uncertainty. Number 3, need for significance. Number 4, connection and love. And those are the 4 of the personality. And then 5 is you must grow, and 6 is you must contribute. So of those 6, which one do you value most? The number one most. There's several that you value, but like the most. I mean, I knew mine instantly. Okay? You guys got it?
Yep.
Okay. Now pick the second one. What are your top 2? Okay.
In your own life, and by the way, I know this changes from situation to situation, but in your own life overall, there's a center of gravity of where you tend to focus. What I'm most interested in knowing is what are your top 2 needs? Of all 6 needs that you've got to meet, which 2 do you value most? Some people value certainty above anything else, and man, you can see it in them. They're trying to control everything and everyone. They get upset if you start to change things. They're really upset if you're late. I mean, they're trying to lock everything into place. Now, everybody values certainty, but some people value it as number 1. If you value uncertainty, you have a totally different life. You're like, who cares? You know, if you value certainty, I can promise you, you know where all the exits are in this room or the building when you go in. If you value uncertainty, you don't care.
I laughed at that. How many of you know where all the exits are in this building? Anybody in this room? Oh, you know, I knew that would be the answer. I'm like, John. Yeah, of course. Okay. I couldn't give you a clue, but I don't care. I'll get out. Right? So to me, but see, your husband might be different. He might be the one that, I mean, Chris is certain. He right now needs to know exactly what he's going to do with this new degree he's getting. I'm like, you're retired. You don't have to do anything with it. It doesn't matter. I've got to know. Where am I going to take this? What am I going to do with this? And
What's the purpose?
I just said, do you drive yourself crazy? Because I'm just like, I'm just going to go take this Tony Robbins course. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's going to be awesome. You know, because I'm certain something's going to happen from it. But your spouse may value certainty. He's got to know. Don't spring anything on him, right? But you can call me and say, hey, I've got concert tickets in an hour. Can you go? Yeah, absolutely. Boom. Chris will be like, well, no, we can't go. The dinner's unthawed. We've got to cook the dinner. I'm like, guess who wins? We're going, okay? But I have to respect that about him, right? But can you see how valuable this will be to find out from the people you're leading? What do they value the most? You guys, this is going to be transformational for all of us. If they need certainty, they need to know all the stuff up front. And that may not be you, but it doesn't matter. If you're going to lead her and take her, she's got to get her needs met. Okay? So let's keep going.
I'll get out of here somehow.
I'll get out of here somehow.
It's a very different approach. Now, everybody needs both, but which one do you value more? If you value being significant, that means you have to be most important, most unique, most different. We can predict that's a very different life than if you value love most importantly. If you're going to treat people differently, you're going to interact, different things are going to stress you. Is this making sense? So which of these 6 needs in your own life for a moment do you believe are top 2 for you? And now, at the core, we all want to give and experience love. That's the most important one. But when I say which 2 needs do you value most, I don't mean in your gut, I mean the way you live, operationally. Do you tend to, like, you're a lover inside, but you want to have certainty before you open your heart?
See, it gets a little complicated, doesn't it? So the 2 that you may have circled, is that how you live? Is that really what really does drive you? I see a lot of heads nodding, because mine were. I didn't change mine after he said that. But, you might say, well, gosh, yes, I value love and connection. But I will be honest with you, that is not one of my 2. That doesn't mean I don't have it, but it's not one of my 2. Does that make me a bad person and an unlovable person? No, it's just not. It's just not what I have to have. I have to have growth. Growth is big to me, and significance.
I think those are
and significance. Don't get that twisted. That's not arrogant. That's not just about winning. I had to get out of my house and do something more because I didn't feel significant. Yes. And that's sad because I am a mom, and I was good at that, and I had that down. But I didn't feel I was missing significance. Yeah. I need to grow and learn and do something, and my life can't stop progressing. I need to keep growing and learning and making an impact. For me, significance is when I die, I left the world a better place than when I found it. it doesn't make me bad or wrong or different. It just makes me, it's just who I am, right? So I need to go after those things. But we all have them all. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
See, I would say Julianne,
Is
I'm going to say connection and love
And
is one of her top, maybe not top 2, but top 3.
needs to give.
And needs to contribute. Needs to contribute, right? Anybody want to share what your 2 are?
Yeah,
Pam?
same as yours.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Significance. I can't go through this life and, not having left an impact. That's just, but see, I was born that way, you guys. It's just in my DNA. Okay, Jess, what are yours?
Contribute then significance.
Contribute and significance. Anybody else want to share? Yes, Jess?
Connection and love.
Connection and, okay, the other one? Connection and love and contribute. Do you feel that from Jessica? I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, Lisa.
I'm definitely certainty and must grow.
Certainty and must grow. Isn't this fascinating? Do you guys find this fascinating?
And you can
Tammy
kinda
Ballard, I'm
see
curious. What's yours?
Mine,
Significance.
it's significance, and I'm torn between connection and love or the need to contribute.
Yeah, I would.
I'm struggling with both.
And sometimes, yeah, and it's not like right or wrong. He just said pick 2 because 2 will stand out. But I would agree with that. How many of you would agree with that with Tammy Ballard? Yes, yes. Isn't this neat? So what if you can figure this out from the people you're leading? Will you lead them differently? We're going to give Jessica more love and hugs and use our words to let her know that she is loved, right? Jaylene too. Jaylene needs that. With Kim, I'm going to tell her how significant she is, right? Significance is one of yours. Because Sean came and taught us how to speak to people in their language, what they need to hear. But if I tried to lead everybody the way I am, I'm going to bulldoze over people. If I don't, learn to slow down and love on them and let it, is this making sense? You guys are getting it? Okay, so this is worthwhile, yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll keep going. Hopefully we can get through it all. Oh, okay, here we go.
So you really value love, but the way you live is you value certainty first. Or are you a person that values significance first because you have to do these significant things before you know you're good enough to be happy or feel good or love yourself or let others love you? What do you value first? If you're really honest with yourself, what would you say the second one is? It's hardest to be honest with yourself about this because you're in the middle of it, isn't it? So when people are talking, you want to see what's driving the conversation, because if you help people meet their needs, you can change the game in a heartbeat. See, people get hooked up about how to meet their needs, and that's the second force. Remember I said 2 things? One is, which of these needs do you value most? Here's the second force of destiny: your belief systems. See, you have beliefs about what has to happen for you to meet these needs. We have a map. Think of your needs as the target. And if you're targeting the center of the target, the bullseye is significance, you're going to be moving in one direction of life. If the bullseye is certainty, you're going to go to a different direction. If the bullseye is love, a different direction. But how to meet that bullseye is driven by your belief systems, your map, your rule book. So how you go about meeting your needs, think of it this way in the most simplistic terms. There are many kinds of beliefs. Beliefs about what life is, beliefs about who you are, different values you have, different rules. We'll cover these, and I'll do it in a really simple way. There are 7 kinds of beliefs. We'll cover them on another day. But for right now, think of it this way. 2 people could both value significance at the top of their list as the driving force in their life. But the difference is they may have a different map about how to become significant, a different set of beliefs, a different rule book. One is Osama bin Laden. His way to become significant is to do what? Wow. To kill people, strangers, men, women, children, who he believes have a different belief or a different life or a different religious approach than he has. Now you see that same day of 9/11, when he was meeting his need for significance by killing people, there were firemen. New York firemen that we all will remember for as long as we live. If you're American, the images are probably deep, deep, deep in your psyche of these men, and women in some cases, running into this building where they knew their chances of coming out were very small, doing it with pure courage. Why? Why would they risk their life? Some did it because it's the ultimate significance to sacrifice your life for another. They have a different map. Their map is, if I die serving a stranger, my life has deeper meaning. Someone else is, if I die killing a stranger, my life has deeper meaning. Same need structure, different belief system. Does that make sense? So very often in life, we look at people's behaviors and we make generalizations. Oh, they're doing that for this reason. And the truth of the matter is, people do things for lots of reasons, but they may be doing it for a different reason than you think. Some people do it for certainty, some do it for significance, some do it for love and connection, some do it for variety, some do it for growth, some do it for all the above. The more needs you can meet by taking on a behavior or a thought or an approach, the more fulfilling it is. So think of it this way. If there's a target you're after in life, a set of needs you're trying to meet that are most important to you, and that's subconsciously driving all of your decision making, where you're going, what you're doing, what you like, what you dislike, whether you're going to meet or not is based on your map. This list of beliefs, rules, values, fears, desires. Again, we'll cover those in more detail, but they're guiding you on how to get to it. Well, a lot of people's map of the world, their blueprint, their belief systems are outdated. They've never been updated. You came up with them years ago, and so you don't get where you want to go. But the third factor that affects us is the one I've already spoken about, and that is emotion. Emotion. See, as I said earlier, people find a primary emotion, a place that they go to live. Some people, again, always find a way to be frustrated or sad or angry. Some people always find a way to feel deep emotions of feeling insecure or not enough. Some people find certainty no matter what, or they find confidence or courage no matter what the situation is. Some people are always playful. Whatever patterns of emotion you've buried into your body on a regular basis, they filter your map and they filter your needs. So what we're going to discover as we go to work with people is instead of just saying they have this behavior, so we're going to label them as bipolar, they get euphorically happy and they get incredibly depressed. Well, if we really take the time to understand this person instead of just drugging them, we may find out that this person is trying to be significant. That's the driving force, and they want certainty that they can do it. And they have these big swings because they think that significance comes from being successful in financial terms or making their business go. That's their ultimate dream. They think if they achieve that, they're going to feel so significant. But then all of a sudden they deal with the natural challenges and problems that you do as you're pursuing something in your business or your life, and it's not working out. So now it looks like it's never going to happen. They're never going to be significant. Now they're depressed. And so they go up and they go down. Instead of saying that's a biochemical thing, let's you and I get to what the source is. What needs are they after? What beliefs do they have? And are they outdated? Do they need to be shifted? What emotions have they got addicted to? They're trained in their body as a pattern. And let's see if we can change the emotion. Let's see if we might change the beliefs, the values, the rules, or let's change the need that they're focusing on or find a better way to meet that need. See, this is what human needs psychology is about. Not labeling, not pushing somebody aside, but figuring out what their needs are and fulfilling them. When human beings' needs are fulfilled, they are an incredible place. Listen, the best leaders I know, General Schwarzkopf is just an amazing human being. And I remember talking to him right after the first Gulf War when he really had made a difference, to say the least. And I talked to other people about him, and they all talked about that he's a practical psychologist. That's what this whole course is about, by the way. Not figuring out all these details so you can label somebody, figuring out how you can understand someone so you can help them. So you can help them meet their needs, so you can make the shift right away so they get fulfilled. Well, Schwarzkopf's great genius was, when he was talking to a guy from Duke, he had a different tone of voice, a different way of meeting his needs, and he's talking to a guy that came from the South that's been working on the railroad before he got there. He understood what their needs were. He figured out how to meet them where they lived, and these men would live and die for this general. See, that's true of a business person, that's true of a parent, that's true of an intimate. That's why we're taking the time to understand this, not just to understand a bunch of principles or distinctions, but to use them in a pragmatic and practical way that touches human beings' lives. That's what leadership's about. If we're going to influence somebody, we got to know what already influences them.
Wow, that's heavy duty.
How many of you caught that last one? How powerful is that? What did he say? If we are going to influence people, and are we? John Maxwell said, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And every one of you in this room is currently leading, or you wouldn't be here. What's the name of this event? Leaders Weekend. Okay? You're leading people, and we are influencing them. So if we are going to have good, bigger influence as we leave this event, we have to understand, what did he say? What influences them. Can you see the value in this information, you guys? That's why I had to write down certain things, because you'll need to go home and study it. I'm fortunate enough that I own this material. I can listen over and over and over. So every day when I do my mental bath, this is the stuff. And sometimes I listened to it 6 or 7 times until I get it. I knew I was going to share this with you this weekend, and I needed to really, really understand it. But don't just tuck this away in your notes, like Julianne said. How can this make a difference for you as you go forward? I wish I had had this 25 years ago, because I think we do sometimes. I hate the word label, but sometimes when people show you over and over and over who they are, we tend to start believing them, but then we do label them. And that may not be what's going on at all. It's just that their most important need isn't being met, right? But we can guide people better this way, can't we? How many of you feel like a little bit better leader right now just from that last hour? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, and what about mother? Your children were born with different needs. One child, Nikki needs significance. Logan needs love and connection. It was so powerful to me and I know that about my kids, but hearing it this way, I'm like I'm taking different actions now with Logan, and with Nikki. So this will help you in your relationships and everything else. Does somebody have a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask your kids what they're taught to, or did you make the decision?
I asked them.
You did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went through it, but I was right. I mean, I knew ahead of time, but I didn't want to put that on them because I wanted to practice it before I start using it in my work. But so I thought, I think I know what they are, but I ended up being right. But I won't always be right. But so with your people, you do want to ask them. So you have to sit them down and kind of walk them through it. Logan was like, Mother, what is this? Mary Kate lesson. I'm like, just listen to me. What do you think is yours? And of course, he always entertains me. But anyway, so we got to move on. Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to make a comment. I have twins, and
Yes.
Both
Twins.
boys, same situation. They're growing up with the same parents. Everything happened exactly the same with them.
Yep.
They're best friends never apart.
Yep.
They're very different. They're very different. One, he wants love and connection, and the other one wants whatever I need.
Significance. Yeah.
And so I have to mother them completely different as
Completely.
adults.
Yes.
So it's just amazing that this is so.
Isn't this just so good? How many of you think you know what your husband's number one is? Those of you that are married and have boyfriends. Do you think you know? Yeah? But why don't you go ask him? Why don't you go? Because you know what? The teacher always learns the most. So go teach this and say to him, I took this away, and what are yours? You could be dead wrong. You really could be dead wrong because you've been with him so long, you think you know what he needs, or your needs are influencing your thinking about what he needs. And this is completely different than the 5 love languages, really. This is literally what you are born with, okay? So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope it helps us going forward.